like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Hello and welcome. This is a bit of a different kind of video for me. I haven't explored this topic. It's a promotional video for the WA Gun Rally, which is on 10:30 a.m. on Saturday 8th of February at Supreme Court Gardens in Perth, Western Australia. It's neat casual dress please, it's family friendly, and it's WA poll approved. The Honourable Louise Kingston, MLC, the Honourable Dr. Steve Thomas, MLC, who is the Shadow Minister for Energy and Industrial Relations, and Ryan Burns, the Libertarian candidate for WA, are the keynote speakers. And you'll see the information on the screen. Now, I'm not involved in any of the organisation of this event. I'm not a gun owner. I first became aware of the issue of illegal guns when a person with an illegal gun, basically a meth dealer, was arrested with a gun in a well-known drug dealing Department of Communities housing complex in Perth. Members of the HIV Consumer Alliance contacted me, and I am the convener of that organisation, and they were very concerned about the dangerous situation they were living in. We've also seen reports of knives, and now it's illegal guns involved in public housing where vulnerable people live. And of course, the big issue is that it's meth usage that is a huge problem, which is not being addressed. It's been known for years that methamphetamine is causing domestic violence, crime. So I'm going to be doing 2 or 3 videos, maybe 4, these are going to include some articles which are published in local Western Australian newspapers, which describe some of the problems with the gun laws. And I'm also going to be including some anonymous comments from genuine people from the gun, sporting, fishing community, grassroots people, and their stories. People are concerned that the guns laws being proposed are going to target legal gun owners, and that they are not going to do anything to combat illegal guns, which, as I've said earlier, with the meth epidemic, these illegal guns are a bigger problem than the legal guns which are in homes locked in safes. I'm doing this because one of the big concerns is that there are many allegations that the WA Labor government have not properly consulted. Now, I cannot say for certain whether this is true or not, because this is anecdotal evidence that I have heard. However, I will comment on the history of the WA Labor Party. When it comes to public health, which is my background, and especially in the HIV area, the practice is that political operatives from left-wing political parties have taken over HIV organisations, and they are very controlling about what gets talked about and how the consultation works. There has been a number of so-called consultations, whether it was the Health Act or the DNA collection laws, where the consultation was a bit of a scam. I was there when we were supposed to be consulting on the Health Act, and we were not given full access to the complete document. We were given little excerpts, and then it was all, oh right, fabulous, and we've signed off on it and said to the government that it's okay, but that was not true. And the person leading that consultation was a member of the WA Labor Party, and the concern in the HIV community is that these political party operatives collude with parliamentary parties to get their legislation rubber stamped by the community without any meaningful consultation. It's my belief that consultations should be thorough and complete, and that governments should be prepared to make concessions to make sure everyone is happy. There's no reason why we have to have these factional based outcomes with winners and losers. I also am very passionately committed to environmental issues, and for many years Jen Parker and the Aussie Canis Dingo Day have been educating people about the vile nature, the disgusting nature of 1080 poison and its effect on the environment. 1080 baits are used to kill foxes, cats and dingoes, but other animals can be more likely to eat them. 1080 baiting is commonly used to manage dingoes to reduce livestock predation and invasive species, but the potential for some non-target species to be harmed by baiting is not well understood. Here they monitored non-toxic baits and found that non-target species, particularly native mice, located and interacted with baits more often and quicker than target predators did. Current baiting practices have the potential to harm non-target species. So that means owls, birds, anything that eats mice is killed because the poison remains in the carcass of the animal that consumes the 1080 bait. Now I'm saying this is because if the government makes it so difficult that legal shooters are unable to go out and control foxes and wild cats in agricultural regions this side of the dingo fence, then what we're going to have is a situation where the fox population will get totally out of control, even more so than it is now, and they will go, oh yes, well we'll just use 1080 baits, and it's going to be an environmental disaster. It's mayhem, it's chaos for indigenous populations of animals. It's some of our most vulnerable populations will be wiped out because of these poisons. And the government needs to think about this before they stop the people that are going out and helping clean up these introduced pests. And my final concept here is that we've all heard about Ukraine. We've all heard about Russia. We've all heard about Syria. We've all heard about Israel's genocide in Gaza and takeover of land in Lebanon and Syria, and the American takeover of land in the northeast of Syria, and the Russian takeover of land in Ukraine. And I say this because what we are seeing at a global level is a rewriting of the international order when it comes to law and sovereignty of countries. So what we're seeing is a return to this might equals right, and if you conquer territory with military, then you are able to keep it. And the United Nations has proved itself to be unable to protect countries when they're invaded by aggressive neighbours, for example. So this reminds us of in World War II, World War I and the Boer War, Australia's military had a glorious history. And the reason that happened was because Australians back then were able to use guns. There was militias, and so when they went away to war to defend the country up north from the Japanese invasion, the men were not totally useless. So gun issues are actually a national security issue given the new international order. What we're seeing at an international level is a complete change, and Australia could well be vulnerable to invasion from a foreign adversary. And I'm just saying I'd much prefer to see the government working with gun clubs and treating legal gun owners in a respectable way, perhaps linking them in with the Army Reserves so that there are systems in place to make sure that legal gun usage is safe and doesn't make the rest of the community vulnerable. And so that way, if there is some dreadful invasion, then we will have some backup, because we cannot perhaps trust the UK and the United States to be able to get to rescue us in time. And given the meth epidemic that we have, with many of our population, basically meth has rendered them useless, well, Australia would be in a very bad state indeed. This is just common sense. There's no need to criticise this. This is just plain common sense. It's quite clear from the American example that the Second Amendment is one of the deterrents that stops America from being invaded. It seems to me that the left-wing and the right-wing governments, perhaps in Australia, have taken a wrong approach. They've been more interested in control of the population rather than thinking in big picture and trusting the people that sensible people exist who can have guns legally in clubs, for example. I've never been to a club, but I assume that they have good security. That's what I'm told anyway. As it stands, given the incident that happened in Wellington Street with a illegal gun being found in a meth dealer's backpack, I haven't seen that in the West Australian newspaper, but it's an allegation that is well known around town at the grassroots level. And so people are very concerned that meth heads are running around with illegal weapons. And perhaps the government should be going to the election with a policy to tell West Australians what are they going to do to protect law-abiding citizens from the illegal weapons. It's bad enough that knives are being used in crimes and violence. That's why the HIV Consumer Alliance of Western Australia has put together a policy paper, End Drug Dealing in Public Housing, which also calls for the West Australian government to do more to eliminate the scourge of meth addiction. All of these NGOs, like the unaccountable, untransparent needle giver-outerers, who give away needles without any accountability and who do very little in the way of offering rehabilitation and dump people in the community without giving them any help. People with mental illness who have meth addiction are not helped. All of these things fuel the illegal guns, drugs and crime. And that's just the way it is. And no amount of sweeping it under the carpet and pretending it doesn't exist will make it not exist. We would like to congratulate President Trump on his USAID interventions. The HIV Consumer Alliance of WA has long been saying that there are problems with HIV funding being used by political organisations for political purposes and not getting to help positive people. We've seen that in Ukraine. I've done videos of that. So we've also seen how in Western Australia the AIDS industry is very political, and so We congratulate President Trump for his efforts to end the Great Gravy Train. And to finish, John Stone says one reason people insist that you use the proper channels to change things is because they have control of the proper channels and they're confident it won't work. I hope you enjoy the memes that are in this video. Remember, the WA gun rally is on Saturday 8th of February at 10:30 a.m. at Supreme Court Gardens, Riverside Drive, Perth. Remember, the state election is on the 8th of March, so it's coming very rapidly. Now is the time to pressure your local member to tell them what they need to do to get your vote. There'll be information about that on the screen. I'd like to thank everyone who's subscribed to the channel and everyone who watches our videos. We're on BitChute, Rumble, X and Odyssey.com. We appreciate everyone who watches our videos. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get ready to vote. Make your voice count. And remember, if you don't get HIV, you won't have to deal with the AIDS Council. Alright, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
In the galaxy where stars align, a robot plays in zero gravity. He's shining bright with moves so sublime. Follow a James Windows 17 on X.com for all to see. Spacecraft soaring through the cosmic sea, images of dreams that we all can see. From the depths of space, pure creativity. Follow at James Windows 17 on X.com. Join the spree. Join the spree.